Hello, welcome to another episode of Journey Journals. I'm Linda Namatai. Today we're jazzing it up just a little with our very special guest who speaks her heart and to many hearts through her music. While some may think of her as the queen of Afro jazz, others call her teacher, some refer to her as one of the best bassists of our time, and still others call her an outstanding actress who has a National Arts Merit Award and the Bulawayo Arts Award to put a stamp on it. She's a songwriter, a wife, and a mother. But way before she started wearing all these hats, my guest started out as a vocalist for the army band at Brady Barracks. And here she is to tell us all about her journey to becoming. She is Edith Katiji, who we all know as Edith weUtonga. Welcome to Journey Journals, Edith.
Thank you so much.
You seem to wear your many hats so well. How do you do it?
I don't know. I don't know. I wake up and realize I have so many hats and jackets that I need to put on. But I guess it also depends with how much support is behind me, and I do have support, and so I'm able to teach when I must, be a mom, be the singer, be the mentor, be the wife when I must. But it's a lot of work, it's a lot of patience for those that are around me, and also I guess patience for myself as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so at what point in your life did you decide to take up music as a career?
One day I remember posting on Facebook, talking to a friend, and we're just talking about how long it's been, you know. One day we were walking home, I think we were in Form 3 and doing holiday lessons, and we're just talking about what we want to do when we grow up. And I told her, with our other friend Star, I said, you know, I'm going to be a superstar. And Star said, I think that's impossible. I think it's going to be something so hard for you to achieve, but I think it's something that I've always wanted to do, to do music, to perform in front of people ever since I was in high school. Yeah.
So you never aspired to follow a different career path when you were younger?
Two things that I could have done. The one, because I used to love delving into people's stories and finding out stories, or just picking up little pieces of paper and making sure I read whatever you'd torn into pieces. And I'd always say to my mom, when I grow up I want to be a journalist. And journalist just sounded fun. It was a big word for me then. And if I hadn't been a journalist, I would have been a clothing person, designing.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
I would have been in the arts somehow, doing something creative. If it's not creative writing, it was going to be design.
You've been referred to as one of the best female bass guitarists. How did you learn to play?
By accident.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not
a
something
good accident.
I think a good accident. Yeah. I was in an all-female group called Amakosilazi, which was a project done by Amakosi Township Square with Uncle Sekuru Kontimtlanga, Priscilla Stoller being the director of that group. And it was a funded project that seek to train women on how to play musical instruments, be the leaders in a band and not just the backing vocalists or the dancers. And my job in that group was to compose the music and perform it, arrange of course and perform it. There was a bassist in the group, and I wasn't the bassist. But then I found my inclination to the bass and the interest, growing, because as I composed, I would find myself composing using the bass line first. But when you're in a group setup, we all mark our territories, and it wasn't easy for me to get access to the bass guitar. And I remember one day we were coming from Victoria Falls, and we had a breakdown on our way back to Bulawayo. And as we were coming back, waiting for rescue, the instruments were there in the car, and so I picked up the bass guitar, and then I started trying to find my notes on the bass guitar, and the passion just got ignited then. I made sure, I think 3-4 years later I had my own bass guitar, and I just started, working at perfecting my art. I don't refer myself as being a female bassist. I think I am a bassist, because I think I stand amongst the many bassists in the country that are not female.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so there's a group, So What?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That you were a part of.
Yeah.
Why the name So What? And how did this group come about?
After the project had wrapped up, the project Amakosigaze, Kontumlanga said, go out there and find work and become band members and not just backing vocalists. And so when we left Amakosi, I had come to Harare and I was working with Tangawekwa Sando. Meanwhile, the all-female group, some had gone back to their countries and others were just idling. And so we decided to regroup, but then we couldn't use the name Amakosigazi because it was a project name owned by Amakosi. And so what's the name for us? So What became a transitional name. Okay, So What?
So What?
And we'd always say our group name is So What with a question mark and an exclamation mark, until we found, ourselves. So What became a band name for this all-female group. And in it were not the women that were originally in the Amakosigas project, except myself and my young sister, Tariro, who is now Tarone Gitare. Was the rhythm guitarist in the band. Rumbidzaita Puma was the percussionist and bira player in the band. And so it had new faces, new people, and so I guess the name So What was befitting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Tell me about an experience that you had in 2008 that became one of the maybe transitioning experiences in your journey.
2008, round about this period actually, I was on my way to Bulawayo. I'm Catholic and my mom was, being honored and my certificates were for church, and I thought I'd surprise her and go down Bulawayo, and be part of the occasion. And so on my way to Bulawayo, there was 3 of us in the car and we were involved in a head-on collision, a fatal one. 3 people died on the spot in our car. The lady reverend we were traveling with, she died on the spot. In the other car, 2 people died on the spot. It was so bad that I was in a coma for almost 2 weeks, and up to today I don't remember what happened, but the screeching of brakes or impact of any sound that's related to the car body, it sort of brings back stuff about what happened on the night. But it was at a time, 2008, Zimbabwe was almost like the way it is now, only there was no money. I'd been in that car because I couldn't get money in the bank for me to book a ticket on the bus to go to Bulawayo. And we were in a hospital where they didn't have gloves. And I got the scar that's on my face is a scar, resulting from that accident. And when I came to, I think they said the only thing that I managed to tell them was the phone number, my husband, the address in Kadoma, where to go to, because the accident happened just outside Kadoma, for them to let my family know what had happened. But it was a defining moment for me, because when I got out of the coma, I think that's when the name weUtonga was born, the first light of day, because the first thing that I saw as I lay on that hospital bed was the light, and for me it was like, okay, I'm back, and weUtonga became the name that then I adopted to say I'm Edith, weUtonga, which is the light, and I need to be that refreshing new day, in everything that I try to do in my music. I want my music to have an impact on people, that even if one was losing hope, they must get a new day from that.
So weUtonga means light.
Light, the first light of day.
So Edith, weUtonga.
Yeah.
Edith bringing light.
Light of dawn.
Light of dawn.
Yeah.
Okay. And you've been in the industry now for 18 years. Tell me, what are some of the challenges that you have faced in those 18 years?
Well, I think being a woman and getting into the music industry is tough on its own, in that we probably don't face the same challenges as my male counterpart who is getting into the industry. I'm getting onto a stage where people are thinking, oh, there's a new fresh face and someone to exploit, someone to take advantage of and things like that. And also the access is minimal for a woman getting into the arts. Not only the access but the acceptance from your audiences or from where you're coming from, depending on where you're coming from. What is she doing? She's into music. You mean I don't get out of my power? That kind of a situation, and people then tend to judge you. But as I believe, that kind of a challenge is what strengthens, I think, the most of us women in the arts, and saying, look, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to make sure that I overcome this challenge, that I'm facing. Other than that, I'd like to believe all musicians really face a challenge or the other at some point. It just depends on how you handle it. It also depends on what kind of a challenge it is, because we are both, as female or male artists, we're all facing challenges. How to record, where to record, how to market your music, how to get on that big platform you want to share stage with big people. We all face those challenges, but it's in the how you then decide, I'm going to handle this, how am I going to get to this point that I want to get to. And I think all musicians really need to look at their music as a business, so that at some point you have ways to say, okay, when this hurdle comes, this is how I'm going to I'm going to overcome, this is how I'm going to make sure I find my way, and make sure that this challenge enables me to see the things that I want to see and overcome. Yeah.
You're also a wife and a mother. Yes. What are some of the things that you have learned about yourself by being a mother?
Commitment. In 2012 I gave birth to a son who had a heart condition that needed open heart surgery, and I found myself with my husband in a situation where we needed to raise almost 30,000 to take him for treatment. And we sat down and looked at each other and thinking, we had not put this child on medical aid. How are we going to do this? Even if we sell the things that are around us in this house, we're not going to raise this money. And I will tell you this, as a mother, this is the time that you break any barrier for the sake of your child's life. I remember that time telling myself, if all else fails, I'm going to go to State House and I'm going to knock and say, I would like to see Mr. Mgabi.
And you would have gone.
And I would have gone, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because I was thinking, we have all these doctors in Zimbabwe, trained in Zimbabwe, and are practicing elsewhere. And yet in Zimbabwe, here we are with only one heart surgeon who is looking out for children, a foreigner for that matter. And how come we have a situation like that? And so, being a mom taught me that, what, there's nothing that will stop you to fight for your child's life, to commit to making sure that your child is okay, to commit as a parent to making sure that your children are okay, And I think I learned a lot during that period when my son was unwell, and then taking him to India and staying in a foreign land, trying to pull through in the most difficult of situations, and still, having running now at 5 and going to school, and you're looking at him and thinking, what have I just walked out of, and how did I manage? So yeah.
Wow. And how do you stay inspired? What inspires you, motivates you?
I think I look at my story. I think I'm a testimony of a lot of things. When I was in grade 4, I was hit by a car and I was in hospital. And after that, I remember, being through a lot of accidents until the one that put me in a coma, and I was pregnant during that time. And then having a child who needed open heart surgery. And I look at it and I'm thinking, God has a purpose with this person.
For preserving
my life. And how am I doing that? So I look at people that come to me with their stories, people that come to me with their situations, and I realize this is where my inspiration comes from. I'm inspired by those stories to help them change their situations. I'm inspired by those stories to help them see the best in themselves, because some come with such terrible stories that you're thinking, God, how do you get this person out of this? And I've just realized through the people that come to me that I'm a good listener. And so I'm inspired by trying to change people's situations for the better, trying to bring the best and seeing the best in people. Sometimes when something bad happens to you, the first thing that you want to see is somebody. You want to blame somebody for that something. But I try to spread the word of love in that let's try to see the best in people. So that's what inspires me, seeing the best and the most beautiful out of people and how they go about their business.
Wow. What is the one thing that you are sure of?
The one thing that I'm sure
You're sure of,
is that I'm a good person and God loves me for that. And through my efforts, in my most little significant way in this whole world, I will try to make the best out of what I can do for other people. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Edith, for joining us on Journey Journals, and we wish you all the best.
We're done.